Hello, good morning students. Please subscribe the channel, drop a like, share and comment. Today's transcription number 496 of Sir Kailash Chandra's volume number 23 on the speed of 120 words per minute. Start. With regard to the various policies enunciated in the budget and the taxation and the various incentives offered, I have nothing more to comment on, as the entire subject has been covered by the Honorable Member, analyzing each and every taxation, the incentives and the impact of such measures on the entire nation. It is an admitted fact that when we embrace both the private and public enterprises and we plan according to the policy by accepting these two together, we cannot satisfy the entire lot of the people by any measure that has been chalked out to plan our future. So, it has been extremely criticized by the honorable members opposite, especially the communist benches, that the entire budget represents what they, in their standard critical way, call the Anglo-American capitalists. With such a tendency to criticize, even if a measure is introduced to curb the use of cosmetics or something of that sort, the same type of criticism you can hear from that side, because it is a section which does not make a factual study of a measure that is introduced in the House. It is a section which supports only those measures that matter to its interests and not otherwise, and thus it directs all its criticism against otherwise beneficent measures. Madam, there are certain measures in the budget which concentrate on help to the forthcoming of capital for the development of industries. In the same way, we have certain measures introduced which are aimed at decentralizing capital so that the economy may be a socialist one at a later stage. All these are mixed up, and so all of a sudden we may not be able to say what will be the impact of all the measures that are envisaged in the budget. So, Madam, I have again to congratulate the Finance Minister for having chalked out certain policies that are conducive to a socialist economy. Now, Mr. Mishra has given an analysis of the various measures and their impact. That is his view. But the Finance Minister has also taken into account the impact that they would have on the nation as a whole after the introduction of these measures. I congratulate the Finance Minister for his sagacity and foresight in chalking out policies that will be conducive to our economy, the socialist economy, to be established in our country within a short period. Madam, I do not wish to talk much on the taxation and other measures, but I wish to bring to the notice of the Honorable Minister some of the important needs of the country which should be given priority when we consider the working and implementation of the budget that is placed before us. It has been said to be the policy of our government that primary education should be made compulsory throughout the country, and to see that within a short period illiteracy is wiped out from our country as a whole. Madam, as a result of the great efforts that we had made, we have been seeing that the children of the have-nots are attending schools which are now open to them with all sorts of privileges. But still, all the children of the have-nots are not attending the schools, because these children are also asked to work for the maintenance of their families. So, Madam, It is my suggestion that, along with the implementation of the existing schemes, we should have the residential system for those children of the have nots so that they may be brought under some supervision, so that until they complete their primary education, we may have these children under some discipline. Similarly, madam, when we think about the implementation of the educational schemes, we will have to think in a national way. It had incessantly been brought to the notice of this House that it is highly necessary that we should have a national scheme for secondary education. This national scheme is absolutely necessary to effect national integration. If, according to the present policy, each and every state is permitted to have their own regional language as the medium of instruction, I fear, madam, that at a later stage the people from the south may not be able to understand what the people of the north say at a joint conference about the various aspects of education, with the various changes that have taken place in this country in the matter of education. And suppose some people educated in the south go to the north for a conference at the national level, the people in the south and the north may not be able to understand one another what the different people have to say on matters of education, and some may not be knowing the languages in which the other people speak. So, madam, it is my contention that there should be one and the same language as the medium of instruction throughout the country. So, I do not say that the present medium of instruction should be continued forever.